The quiet warmth of the living room felt like a welcome refuge from the long hours of packing and unpacking. Cardboard boxes rested against the walls, filled with porcelain dishes, rolled rugs, and framed photographs awaiting their permanent places. Betty Jones stepped back from the corner table, wiping a strand of hair from her forehead, her eyes resting thoughtfully on the brass lamp that had just been plugged in. The soft, amber glow filled the room with a sense of domestic peace that seemed far removed from the turbulent cases of their investigative work. Barnaby Jones leaned against the doorframe, his hands resting easily in his pockets, watching the scene with the quiet satisfaction of a man who appreciated the simple comforts of life. When Betty turned to ask his opinion on the placement of the lamp, Barnaby offered his gentle, dry humor, remarking that any fixture holding a sturdy bulb of 150 watts was more than sufficient in his eyes. Across the room, Jedediah chuckled as he carefully set down a stack of saucers, offering his own hearty approval. The lamp had been a thoughtful Christmas present, and seeing it finally illuminate Betty's new living room was a small milestone in settling into her fresh home. The camaraderie among the three was effortless, built on years of shared trust, mutual respect, and family loyalty. Jedediah teasingly complained about the never-ending chore of unwrapping kitchenware, prompting a light-hearted exchange of friendly banter. As they gathered by the hallway entryway, their attention was drawn to a colorful arrangement of housewarming packages left on the sideboard by well-wishing neighbors. Among the ribbons and cheerful wrappings lay an ornate, heart-shaped box of chocolates accompanied by a card with rhyming verse. While the unexpected gift brought an immediate chill given the unsettling reports in the city newspapers, Barnaby remained steady and composed. He immediately stepped into the corridor, confirming that the building was serene and secure. Knowing that heart-shaped sweets were common in nearly every confection shop, he urged caution rather than panic, reminding everyone that an open mind and methodical care were the best safeguards against unnecessary fear. Downtown at the police precinct, Lieutenant John Biddle reviewed the city files with Barnaby. The atmosphere in the station was busy but orderly, with officers diligently coordinating efforts to keep the peace. The records showed that previous incidents involving strange deliveries had caused distress among local residents, but physical clues remained sparse. When Sergeant Wilgowan arrived to deliver an update regarding an unrelated case involving a discovery in Devonshire, Barnaby noted a peculiar discrepancy in the timing of the events. Unlike prior patterns where weeks had elapsed between unusual occurrences, the recent message at Betty's apartment had appeared within a single day. The inconsistency suggested that someone might be acting out of personal desperation or attempting to mimic known events to conceal an entirely different motive. The following morning at the investigative office was bright with morning sunlight. Betty insisted on coming to work, firmly believing that staying productive surrounded by family was far healthier than dwelling on worries in isolation. Her determination was absolute, and neither Barnaby nor Jedediah could dissuade her. While they organized their files, Sergeant Wilgowan arrived, offering his assistance as an official protective guard. Though Betty playfully protested that having a small army around her was unnecessary, she welcomed his familiar presence. They quickly set to work reviewing records to trace any common daily routines among the individuals mentioned in the files. Jedediah proposed speaking with Ellen Ashley, a department store display coordinator who had been acquainted with one of the women from the reports. At the department store, Ellen was busy adjusting mannequins and arranging bright autumn displays. While her recollections were broad, she remembered a tall, thin individual in dark trousers and rubber-soled shoes, noting that her acquaintance had rarely ridden public buses due to a dislike of crowded spaces and had instead preferred taking neighborhood taxis from the South Park stand. This small detail shifted their focus to the bustling taxi depot near Lafayette Park. Dispatcher Collins provided a roster of regular drivers from the area, pointing out that dozens of cab drivers operated throughout the city. Barnaby and Jedediah carefully noted the names, including an independent operator named Ted Wilson, determined to follow every constructive lead without jumping to hasty conclusions. Back at the office, Betty continued her clerical work when Henry Pearson, the quiet accountant who maintained an office down the hall, stopped by to check on the team. Finding the hallway guarded and everyone on alert, Henry expressed his gentle concern for the safety of the building before excusing himself to attend to his business. Shortly after, through dedicated teamwork and coordinated efforts between the police department and the investigators, Lieutenant Biddle confirmed that Ted Wilson had been located and safely taken into custody, removing any lingering threat from that quarter and allowing the entire precinct to breathe a collective sigh of relief. Yet a vital thread remained untangled. While going through the office appointment log to close out the day, Betty tried to recall why the name Mary Alice Watkins was written in the calendar. Barnaby gently guided her memory back to the previous month, during a week when he and Jedediah had been away on business. Betty remembered that Henry Pearson had come into the office in great distress following a severe personal argument with Mary Alice, asking the agency to intervene before later returning to claim that their misunderstanding had been peacefully resolved. Recognizing that Henry had become deeply entangled in his own tragic misdeeds and had attempted to use the citywide scare as a screen to conceal his personal dispute, Barnaby and Jedediah moved swiftly to prevent any further harm. When Henry returned to the building, visibly distraught and cornered by his own conscience, Barnaby spoke to him with firm, calming reason, demonstrating that truth and accountability could not be escaped through deception. With the building power briefly halted, the situation was resolved without violence, ensuring that everyone was safe and that justice could be served with fairness and dignity. A few days later, the warmth returned fully to Betty's new apartment. The living room was now completely arranged, with the bright brass lamp casting a cheerful light over a table adorned with fresh flowers and cards of genuine appreciation from Barnaby, Jedediah, and Gyan. The trio had gathered not out of apprehension, but in celebration of friendship, trust, and a shared commitment to looking out for one another. When Will graciously accepted that Betty valued their bond as trusted companions and friends, the atmosphere lightened into warm smiles and heartfelt laughter. Betty announced with a proud grin that she was treating everyone to dinner to thank them for their kindness and loyalty, only to discover that Barnaby had already taken care of the arrangements in advance. Surrounded by the unwavering support of her family and friends, Betty looked around her beautiful home with profound gratitude, ready to embrace the bright and promising days ahead.